to our second story, and there is a survey on page 2 of the Mirror from the National Association of Head Teachers, which is calling a strike, incidentally, and it says that 1 in 5 head teachers leave within 5 years of being appointed to the job. Now, Alison, these are people who are, in many cases, with academies and so on, they're effectively running a small corporation. Some of them are on 6-figure salaries. They're getting paid very well. And some people would have you believe that head teachers only work 6 hours a day for about 8 months of the year. So, why are they all running out, do you think?
I think anybody who knows anyone who works in teaching at the moment will tell you how horrendous it has become, in that they're just, the shortage of staff means that they're constantly trying to cover classes. I think that the catch-up program following COVID, trying to get children back on course, the pressures that are now in teaching that weren't there, wasn't there when I went to school. It is incredibly stressful job, I think, for all teachers. And like you say, and then head teachers, they're running a not significantly big, a fairly significant sized business.
Mm-hmm.
That is a tough old job. And I mean, if 1 in 6 are quitting, and the real shame about that is however hard you try to recruit more people, you're not going to get it at that same speed. And also you're going to lose all that experience and wisdom that is so vital when you're the head of a school. It's those years of experience that you know how to deal when there's things, that are really tricky. And I think when you talk to teachers and head teachers, well, they're now dealing with so many emotional issues that a lot of young people have. It's not just, the reading and the writing and all of that. It's all the other stuff that comes with, quite often dealing with up to 1,000 young people with all their associated issues. We've got to take a really serious look at it. And a friend of mine who's a teacher and is striking this week, she was saying that, she's obviously devastated that she's going to have a day where she's not, there for the kids. But she says that, the reality is that kids are going with, not without proper teachers quite frequently in lessons now, because the lesson's been covered by, somebody that's passing through, or a teaching assistant, because they haven't got enough maths teachers, physics teachers, they haven't got enough books, they can't send them on trips. And there's this constant sort of chipping away at what they're trying to give to kids, which is really demoralising.
Yeah, and of course, some points during the pandemic as well, right at the start, when they wanted to reopen the schools again, they demanded that schools, out of their existing budgets, pay for all the extra COVID protections they needed. So screens, extra cleaning, all that loads of extra ventilation, all had to come out of existing budgets. The government did not give them extra cash to pay for that.
And you saw the pay increases as well. So, I think pay increases have got to come out of school budgets as well. Mm-hmm. So if they're paying teachers more, that means that there are other things that the children need, like a new roof on a classroom or a mini bus so they can go on a trip to somewhere. All the stuff that is vital, because school is, obviously it's about learning, but it's about creating people who are going to be good, functioning adults for the future. And you're not going to, you can't do things like that on the cheap, where you're constantly chipping away. No. And lots and lots of schools, if you talk to, any kid, they'll tell you, oh yeah, we've dropped this subject at our school or that subject at our school, because they can't recruit teachers into those. So the whole curriculum is getting chipped away at as well.
Yeah, I remember talking to a friend of mine who's used to be a education correspondent for the BBC. I'm talking about sort of, what do you call it? Not Ofcom. What is it for Ofsted? Ofsted reports for schools and so on. And she said well, what they really depend on more than anything else is whether the head teacher's just left. Yeah. If the head teacher comes and goes, then the school doesn't have the stability in that to make a decent Ofsted. And it's literally, that's what it comes down to. And if you've got a good head teacher, then your school's going to be good. So if they've got a high churn rate in the head teachers, you're going to have a high churn rate in the schools. The Ofsteds aren't going to be as good, and the teaching isn't going to be as good because they don't have the leadership.
But there's such a shortage of head teachers at the moment. I think that when schools are recruiting for new head teachers, they're really struggling to get people to even apply for the jobs. So, because people do not want that level of responsibility, because there's so much goes with it. And I just don't. And I think because people often go to teaching because they want to make a real difference, they want to change the future for their kids, and if they feel they can't do that, they're thinking, well, what is the point?
Yeah, exactly. Now, we're going to have a little wrap of questions at the end, everybody. So what do you think about the head teachers going out on strike? What do you think about the teachers going out on strike? Do you think they ought to? Do you think that they're taking a risk with children's education after a couple of years? It's already been quite heavily disrupted. Get in the comments and let us know. And what do you think about Rishi and how he's going? Is he just stuck with the legacy of the moral squalor of Boris Johnson, and there's little anybody could do in that situation, poor Rishi? Or do you think that this is something that he could have done better and moved faster and been a bit more decisive on? I think personally he'd have gone up in the polls a bit if he just fired a few people on day one. But that's just me. I'm a bit more gung-ho about these things, perhaps, than a former Goldman Sachs lawyer is. I would have expected so much better from somebody who was the second choice to Liz Truss.